All right, we are live. I'm Andy. I'm hosting tonight, so you might want to tune in because things might go sideways real fast. I'm joined tonight by SC. How's it going, man?
Good, bro. Good. This will be an exciting episode. We got some 24 sleepers, some freshmen to give some love to, and some guys you just want on your radar. So it'll be a fun episode headed into the Thanksgiving season here.
Yeah, it should be a fun episode tonight. So, we are going to talk about the NFL draft with potential sleepers, and then for the college football season 2024, new Devy potential sleepers as well. So, what I did was I broke this down by position. So, we're doing quarterbacks first, and started. I broke this off into two categories: the freshmen, and then the returning assets. So, the first guy up here is from South Carolina, Lenora Sellers.
Yeah, no, I mean that's gonna be a good one, a good freshman coming in, or to get that shot right. Spencer Rattler should be out of there, and Rattler showed some hope with the South Carolina offense. I just think he didn't have all the help he necessarily needed. So to see some new legs go in there and take control and show something that Rattler really couldn't, and that might be just take control of the field and become that leader, it could be exciting to watch them.
He's a real fun prospect to watch, and he's gotten some playing time this year. I think he's someone in C2C leagues and even in Devy drafts coming up. You could probably get him on the cheap right now. I don't think he's on that second tier of freshman quarterbacks coming in. He's I think people view him as a third tier guy, but with his ability to run, make plays, and with his cannon of an arm, he might boost up to a tier two and even a tier one by the end of next season. Now, the next guy we're talking about is Jackson Arnold from Oklahoma. Dylan Gabriel has another year left. Don't know if that's going to be at Oklahoma. For this process, let's assume he gets the starting job next year. What are your expectations with Jackson Arnold?
Well, I mean, when we're talking about Oklahoma or Texas, you have to consider they're going to be in the SEC, right? So it's going to be a whole different idea of the playing for Oklahoma. So the adjustment this will be the adjustment year. I don't think you could go in there and expect to see him, overtake the role and become the quarterback we want. We've seen some great quarterbacks come out of Oklahoma. But next year, just going to that new defense, I want to see how he's reading the defenses. I want to see how he's actually processing the game. The chemistry and stuff with wide receivers could come if he doesn't already have that. But I want to see him actually adjust to these SEC defenses and what he'll do in the game, because there will be some times where he's going to have to showcase, like, look, I am the leader. I can take it down that 2 minute drill and potentially get that game winning field goal or touchdown for the team. So I think next year is a great year to view him, assuming Dalen Gilbert is not there. It'll be nice to see, again, going to the SEC for this team. If he goes in there and leads them to, 5 victories on the season, I think that's a win for him, just going out there and showcasing it.
Yeah, it should be interesting. I mean, they have a nice group of prospects coming in, but yeah, moving from the Big 12 to the SEC, where in the Big 12 defense is optional, and then going to the SEC, that's going to be a tough ask to do for what will be a redshirt freshman. The next one we're going to talk about is a guy that's actually on my tier one of freshman prospects, and that's Jaden Rashada from Arizona State. Looks like from indications today, he is taking reps with the first team. So we might see him this weekend. He's only played 2 games, so he has two more available games to preserve his freshman, his redshirt.
Right.
Where do you have him going into next year?
He was, like you said, tier one for the freshman quarterbacks right now, and you saw the difference when he got off the field when the other quarterback stepped in. I think it was like week 4, week 5. I had made a tweet about it, like, okay, Jaden Rashad is the best quarterback on this team. Like, it's just hands down. So they definitely missed him. So the idea that he's coming back, I mean, he's a great athlete. He can run the ball. He can throw it on the dime. He just has that it factor. I feel like with the team, and with the team like Arizona State, you're not necessarily expecting greatness, I guess you could say. But he goes out there and he shows some flash. He just gets that swag, if you will, in a quarterback. And I just love seeing him play. And it's gonna be phenomenal if he gets these last two starts. I mean, at this point, it's like, yeah, if you want to, but I feel like he's gonna be the quarterback of the future. So rest him, just make sure he's fully healthy, and next season it's full go for him.
Yeah, he's a real fun prospect to watch. I just hope he adds on like another 10 to 15 pounds in the offseason. He has so much poise as a quarterback in the pocket. And when I watch his high school tape, he just calms everyone down. And that's a trait you don't see from a high school prospect. So he's
Yep.
someone that I'm looking forward to watching possibly play this week, but more for next year.
Mm.
The next one we're going to talk about, actually, the next two is from your neck of the woods, Aiden Childs from Oregon State and
Mhm.
Austin Novosad. What are your thoughts about those two?
So Aiden Childs, man, I'm excited to see him. He just came from California. Coming up here to Oregon State, gets a good opportunity. Gets set behind DJU. For the year, but he's coming back with Damian Martinez, right? So he's coming back with a confident backfield where he doesn't necessarily need to have the full game on him. So I think it's gonna be nice to see. And there, Pac-12, we talked about last episode. It's gone. So he has a chance to kind of really just start fresh. It's a new conference, new everything. No one knows his play style in a sense. So he could come in there and just take over, and they could possibly be your better team in Oregon next year based on him. I mean, he was a top prospect for me coming in, and I liked the idea that he got some chance to sit. He did play a little bit here and there, but he got to learn this year, and next year it's all on him. So it's going to be fun to watch him go out there and just make the plays because I know he can. He's the quarterback that can expand the play, escape the pressure if he needs to. So it'll be nice to finally watch him. Novosad, I do like him as a prospect too. I think he has a great arm. They did sign, or they did get a commit, Michael Van Buren as well. So it'll be exciting to see that QB competition. I don't necessarily know if it's exactly Novosad's. I mean, he should be the experienced quarterback, right? But I do like Michael Van Buren as a prospect as well. So Novosad will go on there. Oregon likes to throw the ball, but again, new conference, so they're going to be adjusting their play style maybe because they're not going against these air raid type of offenses where they have to score super quickly. So it may be a little bit more slowed down. I think that will benefit Novosad a lot more.
I think with Oregon State and Aiden Childs, I think that's a very interesting situation. For the next 2 years, they have that agreement with the Mountain West where seven of the Mountain West teams are going to be playing on their schedule and just to fill that entire schedule for the next 2 seasons. Technically, you're going to be looking at a G5 team.
Mhm.
Technically, if you're Aiden Childs, I I know every time their coach, when their coach is interviewed, that coach loves Aiden Childs. I'm sure
Mhm.
Aiden Childs will get the reins of that offense. But if you're Aiden Childs, do you stay knowing you're going to be facing like San Jose State, you're going to face Nevada, Utah State, where the NFL might not view you as serious as if you were to move to, say, another Power Five team?
Mhm.
With this transition of them leaving the Pac 12 because it's gone to transitioning into technically a G5 school, do you have any concerns that he might transfer out?
I don't know if he really can at this point. I mean, he of course he can, but I mean, why not go there and dominate, right? You're going against, we'll say, lesser competition. There's still some great competition there, but going against some lesser competition, why not go out there and dominate and then transfer out that next year by saying, okay, I'm gonna go to a Power Four school and I'm gonna show you I can do it still, right? Take the reins, take control, win that whole conference, and then get on everyone's radar, and then go to that other schools where it's like, okay, let's see what he is really about now. Because if you go, I think right now his draft stock isn't really dropping, even going to a Mountain West conference. But if he goes to one of your power fours now and he doesn't look as great, then you have that draft stock stopping. Where now it's like safety to just stay in the Mountain West, I think, because he's where he's need to be. And if he plays bad, then it's like, okay, well, maybe you weren't ready and it could have been worse, right? So if you play great though, it's like, okay, now let's take you to the next step.
Sounds fair. With this next guy, I want to take a look at this next guy from two different angles. One angle is they don't get anyone from the portal, and the other angle is they get someone from the portal. And we're talking about Austin Mack for Washington.
Mhm. Yeah, he's a phenomenal prospect too. I mean, this guy's 6'6". He's a beast. He can stand over your line. He can make those throws. Um, if they get no one from the portal, I mean, we're thinking that they're losing McMillan, Odunze, and Polk, three top receivers, right? Polk could possibly come back, but if they lose those three top guys, I mean, in a sense that's better for him because it's not like if he plays bad it's like, well, you have all the, you have a great receiver, why are you? So it's okay because sometimes you want the quarterback to make the wide receivers look good, right? And I think Michael Penix got into a situation where he had phenomenal wide receivers and it was kind of, they made him look good but also he made phenomenal throws to make them look good too. Where here with Austin Mack, I think he needs to come out here and make these wide receivers look good and show, hey, this is the air team that we have, and I have the arm to continue this air raid type of offense to just make it look good. If they get some from the transfer portal, I mean, that's also great for him because it just makes it seem, it depends on who they get, obviously, but I mean, I'm trying to think of guys off the top that, wide receivers that could possibly go. Um, it would be nice, it depends who they get, but if they get a star caliber wide receiver, I mean, that's just, sometimes you need that, as your rookie year going in, if you will, just to have a safety net, but a guy you can trust and a guy that catches all the balls, even if they look bad, but hey, he catches it, so you look great.
Now he's someone that reclassified. Technically, he's supposed to be a senior in high school this year, but he reclassified and is with the program. He was essentially 17 when he enrolled, I believe. Same thing with Quinn Ewers, and we've seen Quinn Ewers kind of struggle because he reclassified.
Mhm.
For you, with Austin Mack, with him being 17 and reclassifying, do you view that as a negative or a positive?
A positive. I mean, Ewers, you could say he struggled too early on, right? But I think he got his feet under him. It just builds up more knowledge. You're kind of looking at the game from a different way, right? When you first go in there, it's excitement and you're ready to play. But now you're actually like, okay, I gotta break it down. I gotta slow this game down. I actually have to understand it. And if anything, as long as he's, staying and watching film and actually reading out the playbook and everything like that, I mean, his IQ is gonna be through the roof. So when that senior year comes for him, then it's like, oh snap, okay, this guy really has it.
And the final guy that I want to talk about for in that freshman category is Connor Harrell. He's from North Carolina. He's going to have a clear pathway next year. The coaches have raved about him at spring camp this past season. And he's going to have a young nucleus of wide receivers, and he's going to have Amari and Hampton. He's a very interesting prospect. What do you think his ceiling can be? Now, we know he's not going to be Drake May, but what do you think his ceiling can be?
Um, if you will compare, I mean, to be honest, I think they're gonna run heavily on the Marion Hampton next year, where it's just gonna be super like, let's just get him the ball because he knows how to make the plays. But Harold, he has out there a nice arm. He has some good precision. I mean, if you want to go comparison wise, maybe like a McCarthy type, just someone that can get it done, someone that relies on these running backs, but then also can make the plays to the wide receivers. Because, like you said, it's going to be a newer core for him. So he's going to have to make these wide receivers, find them in the open field, expand the play, and get some pressure out. But at the same time, he's going to know he has two or a running back in Lamar and Hampton back there that can, help save the day for him as well.
Yeah. And with this next category, we're going to talk about CFF assets that might turn to Devi. The first guy we're talking about is Preston Stone for SMU. Now, with Preston Stone, he's going to be a junior next year. Has he done enough to cross over to turn into a Devi asset? We know he's tied to Jordan Hudson next year.
Yeah. Um, a Debbie asset, if you can get him cheap, right? I'm not necessarily trading for him, but if you have a Debbie draft and it's a deep one, sure. I mean, there's still tons of guys I'd rather get over him. But I think he looks nice for what he's doing at SMU. This is one of those you have to take in consideration. The competition he might be playing is different than some of your other guys that you may say, yeah, he's more athletic or has more ability and speed at him. But I love RJ Maryland too, but I think he gets the ball to his wide receivers. Um, but I'm not drafting him early on. It's a late guy, and he's someone you're taking a dart throw on just because we've seen the bad in him, but now we're seeing some good in him too.
Yeah. And this next guy is a very raw prospect, but he's a very interesting one, and that's Byron Brown for South Florida. Now, he'll be a redshirt sophomore next year, and he's also coming from a non-power five school. Now, he's going to have 3 more years to pretty much refine his craft. When I watch him play, he's kind of a lesser refined Cam Newton when he was at Auburn that first year. Very raw, but you see things there.
Mhm.
Is he just a pure CFF asset, or do you think he can develop at USF?
Right now, he's definitely just a CFF asset. He's someone that I think he could possibly win you some leagues, win you some seasons, going on. But I don't know if I see him anywhere in the next level. If anything, he can possibly get a shot, but I don't think he necessarily enters a draft anytime soon. Obviously, I mean, he's still has some years, but like as in the fact that if he is, he's not even a seventh round pick at this point. I think he just showcases the talent that he can have. He has some good speed. He can get out the ball. He can get out the pocket. But I don't see him doing the things you want to see as a pro quarterback.
Yeah, he's a very raw prospect and someone that's going to have to make leaps and bounds. Now, this next guy, we saw him make leaps and bounds, and he made that quick leap, and he decided to enter the portal, and that's MJ Morris. Now, for this exercise, let's assume he goes to a Power Five and is named a starter at that school. From what we've seen so far at NC State the past 2 years, what's his ceiling? Is he a third round guy? Fourth round?
Um, for him, a lot of it's like you talk about the guy Kevin Concepcion, right? And how big of an impact was that? Did he have a solid freshman wide receiver that came out and just looked great? And I think with him transferring, depending on where he goes, we'll see a lot this year. Right now, let's just say off of that alone, I don't necessarily think he's a third round guy. I think possibly a fourth or fifth. Day three for sure right now. But I think this is a good opportunity for him to show, look, I can go out there and succeed in even higher competition at that next level, and I can show you I can develop. It wasn't that I think Kevin Concepcion's one of your top wide receivers right now for a freshman wide receiver, right? So I think this is an opportunity for him to say, hey, look, it wasn't that I had a fantastic prospect. It's that I am actually good now too.
Yeah, sounds fair. And this next guy, he is making headways so far this year. That's Noah Fafita. Now, he comes from a high-powered offense with Arizona. He has a good rapport with Ted McMillan because they played high school together. Are we starting to see a wave of Arizona schools having Devy assets? I mean, we talked about Jaden Rashada earlier, and now we're bringing up Noah Fafita.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think Devy assets. I'm not sure because I mean, you think about like Rashad White, right, at Arizona State too. I don't necessarily know if at that time I had him as a Devy asset, but definitely C2C assets because it's not someone you want to risk for them to be in your rookie drafts if you're in C2C leagues. I think he's someone that you can definitely hold and someone that Tech McMillan's coming back, right? So he's going to be with him as well. So this is a great opportunity then for them to continue to succeed. His ceiling would be a round 3 pick. I don't think he's getting a date, second round or first round pick or anything. His ceiling will be a round 3, but I think a lot of that is going to be Tech McMillan's just the man as well, But it's nice to see.
Now, the last quarterback we're talking about is Cam Rising, and he's going to come back for his 7th year at Utah. Let's just assume he is medically cleared. He is going to be 1 month shy of turning 26 when the 2025 NFL draft takes place. What does he have to do in his final season for teams to view him as an NFL draft pick?
Man, he has to go all out. I mean, there's no questions about it. We've seen it. We've seen Utah run by him or through him. He looks great. The offense clicks. Everything looks fantastic when he's on the field. So he's just gonna need to show out. I mean, there's nothing perfection is going to need to be his trait. A lot of the games Utah lost wasn't due to their defense. Their defense still looked stout. It was just the offense couldn't really do much. So this is going to be something where he's going to have to go out there, no excuses, and he's just going to have to ball if he wants to get any sort of draft capital. On by that, I mean a day two pick. I mean, because prior to this season, before we found out, hey, he's going to get hurt, or he got hurt, he was great, and I was like there was high hopes for him. And now we just need to see, okay, that injury is done. You're past it. You're healed. You're good to go. This is what I saw, and this is what I'm getting.
Yeah. And let's move on to running backs now. Now, for the running backs, I kind of broke it down to three categories. And the first category is the 2024 NFL Draft Sleepers. The first one I want to talk about is Joquavius Marks from Mississippi State. And I see traits in him. Now, one, the Senior Bowl is interested in him. Whenever the Senior Bowl takes a look at you, I take a look at you. What I like about him, he has good hands and he's a great pass protector. I see him being a third down back at the next level. What are your thoughts on him?
I like that as well. I mean, blocking is a huge part, at that next level, and that's something that even if you don't get that capital, as you mentioned, round three, if he goes in the fourth, fifth, he has a pathway to opportunity because of that, because he can catch out the backfield, because he can pick up the blocks, because he's a bigger guy that can do that. I really enjoy that. I did have higher hopes than what he actually did this year for them, but I still like him as a prospect moving forward, and he's definitely one of your heavy sleepers in this draft, especially with him possibly going to the Senior Bowl here. That's a time where a lot of these athletes get the opportunity to showcase even more than what you saw in the season, just in one game, right? Just show what you're really about. So if he goes out there and has a great day, then yeah, you're going to see him probably go in round three at the end.
I kind of see him potentially being like a Jalen Warren type where he gets drafted by a team. He is just a gritty football player that a coach loves. And he's going to protect your quarterback. So he might early on get third down work. And he might show some juice and show out. And he might get more and more reps. So he's someone that's interesting to watch for later on.
Mhm.
Now, the next prospect I want to talk about is Taj Brooks. Now, PFF loves this guy. They had him as their highest graded running back last week with a 91.5 grade, and he has an overall grade of 87.1. He's got 77 forced missed tackles, and almost two-thirds of his rushing yards are after contact. He's pretty much a discount Trey Benson without the medical concerns. What are your thoughts?
He's a big boy too, guys. 230 or so, and he's a stout back. He knows how to run. He's quick. What has over 1,300 yards, I think, this season, and they still have a game, and then you have your bowl game to play as well. So, I mean, very excited to see what he can do and what he'll bring to that table. He's gonna start off as someone on special teams, I think. He's gonna get his reps there, but a lot of times they want you there just to show, okay, look, you're gonna pay your dues and you're gonna continue to work hard even on these special teams. I mean, you can name some great players that worked their way up because they had that grittiness to them on the special teams to go hard every play, and then they work into the actual starting role. So he's definitely someone that I think has an opportunity to get drafted. The team will fall in love with him just the way he's built, and his quickness, his elusiveness, and then he's got to work for that. But in today's day and game, I mean, almost every team has a committee, so why not go to a team, be a committee, and showcase like, look, I am the guy next.
A landing spot that I really like for him is the Green Bay Packers. I think AJ Dillon moves on after this year, and Aaron Jones, he's kind of getting older, kind of getting hurt. I
Mhm.
think he's someone that can step in and just, early just take on just like whatever, like 4 or 5 carries, and then just eventually build upon that. But the next group that I want to talk about are the freshmen. Now, the first one we're going to talk about is Jeremiah Love from Notre Dame. Now, when he came in, I wasn't too high on him. I thought he would just be like a pass catcher out of the backfield, but he's exceeded the more than what I thought he could do. Where
Mhm.
do you have him viewed as?
He's one of my later guys, but I'm excited to see it. Estime really impressed me this season, Audric Estime. So the fact that he did good in this Notre Dame offense, I want to see what Jeremiah Love can do. Estime wasn't even on my radar really, so it's kind of just taken by surprise, and I hope Jeremiah Love does the same thing. He's not someone I'm looking as a heavy Devy asset. I have him stashed in some C2C leagues, but it's more on I hope he hits, but I don't really know if that's something that he's going to do.
Yeah. This next guy is one of my favorite sleepers. Now that's Kedrick Riscano. Now coming into the season, we knew Quinshawn was going to be the guy. We didn't quite know if Ulysses Bentley would kind of resurface. So I
Mhm.
had him as a sleeper this year. Now, Bentley moves on next year, and Quinshawn will be a junior.
Mhm.
We expect Riscano to take over that RB2 back next year, and then he should have 2 more years as the lead back. Were you as high on him as I was coming into the season?
No, but that's really just because I thought it's just a Quinchon show. It's just gonna be all about him. So I wasn't, to me, I wasn't expecting to see anything from him. So it was gonna be like I liked him coming out as a high school prospect, but I knew, all right, I'm not gonna be able to get my full synopsis on him this season for it. But what we saw Quinshon Junkins do as a freshman, he just took over. And I think Riscano does have that ability where if Quinshon does slip up, which he did a couple times this season, Riscaldo could go in there and take over and not look back. I like his play style. I like his athleticism, and he's someone that I think is a little bit more versatile than Quishon to do certain things. So it's gonna be a healthy competition, but at the same time, I don't think he's someone that's gonna miss out on opportunity when it's given to him.
I think his role next year will be on third down. He was the running back that had the most catches in this class. I believe he had over 40 in
Mhm.
his senior year in high school. So I think he's someone that might take over at third down role. This next guy is a guy that you're liking because
Mhm.
Arkansas is banged up. They
Mhm.
lose everyone.
All right.
So this week and potentially yeah, they're not going to make a bowl. So potentially
Yeah.
the next 2 games, Isaiah Agustave. Now you
Yeah.
talk about him because you kind of talked him up.
Yeah, no, I mean it was exciting to watch when he got committed to Arkansas. He was definitely on my radar. I knew it was gonna be Raheem, or that was a thought. Raheem was gonna be there, but now we might see Rocket Sanders come back for another year just with those injuries. But man, if those injuries are lingering and he's not fully healthy, watch out for Augustave to go out there and take it. You know, that's just his name of the game. He has some nice footwork. He can hit the holes and then explode out. He's just someone that he's not built like Rocket Sanders, but he's a lot faster, I feel like. And it's really what we saw in Rocket Sanders last year. That to me, the past couple of games before he got hurt again, he was missing that step. It looks like he lost a step. And that's something I don't want to see in running back. So with Augustave, this is an opportunity. Hey, go out there and show it. And guess what? Even if Rocket Sanders does come back next year, but he goes out there and just balls these last 2 games of their season, then it could be his backfield. And they may just ease in Rocket Sanders because they're like, dude, you're a great asset, but we don't want you to rush back. And again, an opportunity where it's like, I'm just not looking back. This is my team now, and I'm going to take it full throttle. Definitely a huge asset. Devy wise, you're shooting on him a later round, right? Because there's other guys you can get right now for some Devi assets. But C2C, I mean, you need to grab him up everywhere. I think at this point, if he's still on your waivers, you go get him. If he's not, you go trade for him because I think after these 2 games, his ceiling's gonna be high going into next season, and you're not gonna be able to get him unless Rocket Sanders comes out and just goes ham the first 2 games of the season for him.
Yeah, I think with him, as far as C2C leagues, I think your best bet is to get him right now, or you wait until Raheem says he's coming back and
Mhm.
then you buy.
Yeah.
Now, this next guy, this is a guy that you brought up on the list, is not me. I'm a
Yeah.
Michigan homer, but I didn't bring him up. And that's Cole Cabana. Now,
Yeah.
he showed out in the spring game, and we knew he was going to be behind on the depth chart. Now, Blake Corum's done. He's going to be gone next year. Donovan Edwards has been on record to saying that he wants to leave next year. For this exercise, let's say both of them are gone.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on Cole Cabana?
Man, Cole Cabana, when I watched his high school tape, this kid can hit the holes, man. He is super quick. He can catch the ball at the backfield. He can even pick up the blocks. He has those strengths to get those. He had a good IQ for the game when I was watching his tape. And definitely, if it's his backfield, I mean, I'm just excited to see him because I think he could be a 3 down bat. They can use him for everything that they need to. What Michigan has done with running backs in the past has really produced some good running backs. So it would be excited to see him get that starting job and just run away with it. I mean, he has that second gear when he hits that open field. You're not going to catch him. He has that breakaway speed. So definitely someone excited to watch. If Donovan Edwards isn't there and it's his, to me right now, I think he is the backyard one in Michigan.
And he is someone that has really good hands too. Now, this next category are guys that are going to get a chance to shine next year for their program. And the first guy is Jordan James at Oregon. Talk about him, SC.
Yeah, no, Jays is great. And we saw what him and Bucky Irving could do as a tandem there. And now I think next year we're going to see Jordan James and Dante Dallowell, right? But Jordan James has more of that explosiveness to him. He's definitely the quicker asset out of them. I think he's going to get the first and two role. And then we may see Dante Dallowell at the goal line. He's just a bigger, thicker back. But with the Oregon offense, even going to a new conference in the Big Ten there, we're still going to see the high rate, high energy type of offense, and he's going to be someone that electrifies them because of his speed.
And this next guy that we're going to talk about is Dallin Hayden for Ohio State. Now, Ohio State, they will be losing Travion Henderson and Mine Williams. I believe Trip Trainham has one more year left, and they bring in a freshman in James Peoples. Dallin Hayden lost his role to Chip Trainham this year. Do you think Dallin Hayden can be the lead back next year for them?
Man, it's gonna be hard. This is gonna show a lot about his confidence, right? About who it is, and if he could go out there and go through that adversity of saying, "Look, we didn't trust in you to be one of our top three here," right? So this is an opportunity for him to take it. Can he be the lead back? I mean, sure. Will it benefit the team? I don't think he necessarily pulls the rope one way or the other. I think right now he's just a mediocre type of back that we're just going to need to see what he can do and what value he really brings to the team. Because right now, it's not better or worse, but it's not anything you're necessarily excited to see at this moment.
Yeah. And someone that's also hasn't been very exciting these past couple of years is Jam Miller from Alabama. Now, we know Alabama plays the seniority role, and he's going to be a junior next year. He's going to have the seniority over Justice Haynes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm expecting maybe like a 45-35 percentage as far as Jam Miller to Justice Haynes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any excitement for Jam Miller?
I did. A year ago, I was like, man, this is exciting. I'm, ready to see this prospect go. But now I don't see Justin Haynes getting that up. He might, like you said, give that seniority role, but when Justice Haynes gets his opportunity, he's taking that role. And, it might be something better for Jam Miller to say, hey, I want to transfer out because I know I can't beat this kid out and go out there and shine somewhere, because it is possible. He can go out there and shine. I loved him as a prospect, but because we haven't seen it and I've seen Justin Haynes, yeah, it's not happening for him.
Yeah, what really soured me on him was when he lost his role to Roydell Williams. That was pretty much the final straw.
Yeah.
Now let's move on to wide receivers, and we're going to break this down to three groups as well. The first group we're going to talk about is a 2024 NFL draft sleeper. And the first guy I want to talk about is Malik Washington from Virginia. He's quietly having a tremendous season. And I think he's going to pick up steam once the NFL draft season comes around.
Yeah, he was always someone that it's great to see, but now I want to see it all come together. Combine and pro day, I think will just escalate him. Possibly it could be because he's playing at Virginia, so it's not as heavy as a prospect list. But I think he's someone that could definitely rise those boards and be. Every year we see a day two wide receiver go. That's like I didn't really have him as a day two guy. Malik Washington could be that, and it'll be on the backbone of the seasons he's had. And then if he has a great combine and pro day for him too.
Now, with the NFL, they're loving that Debo type yak player. We're starting to see more and more of that. And Zay Flowers went in the first round. He fits that yak guy. Is Xavier Weaver a potential sleeper with that yak ability that he brings?
Yeah, he's an interesting one because I think he's someone that it's gonna matter on the coach, and I say that you can say that about any prospect, right? But it's gonna matter on the coach, especially for him, because how do you use him? I'm not necessarily putting him down as an every down wide receiver. He's not on the outside of or a eye back or anything like that. He's just someone that you got to use him right because he has the athletic skill set to make those plays. But it's going to depend on the coach or even the quarterback at sometimes to make the proper audible to get him in the roles he needs to be, because he'll get there. But the right coaching needs to happen for him to showcase his true abilities. Because if he goes, let's just say he went to like the Giants, he's a loss. They're not going to use him right. I mean, it's just the reality of it, right? But if he went somewhere like San Fran that has a Debo that knows the versatility of him, or even Miami, we could see some excitement there for him.
Now, this next guy, he made a jump to the Power Five this year. Can Ollie Jennings make another jump to the NFL?
He, Hopefully, if he's healthy with the combine and the pro day, he missed the season. He got hurt early on, but his first game was against his former team, Old Dominion, and he came out there and he just balled. He had a great game. He has some nice precision, can get that contested catch. He has nice crisp route running. I think he can play at the NFL. Now, will someone take a shot at him? If he goes out there and has that good pro day and combine and show, look, I'm healthy, I'm ready to go, sure. But if not, if he's still hurt, we may see him undrafted, but that doesn't mean he's not on my radars because I think he has the abilities to play. He just unfortunately, fell into that injury this season, so that's going to hurt him.
And this next group we're going to talk about are probably the lower rung freshmen that people aren't talking about. And the first one is Eric Singleton out of Georgia Tech. He is an electric player. He has speed for days. I think at the next level, he could be a slot guy. The only issue right now is his weight. He's a little slight frame kind of a player, but when you watch him play, you see the talent jump off the screen.
Yeah, no, he's definitely someone that fits the Georgia Tech mold. I feel they always have one player that's just electrifying to watch, someone that just kind of goes off your strings with how fast he is, right? And I think that's something Singleton is. He's someone that I hope eventually he does transfer out, because if he goes out there and balls, this next season with Georgia Tech, then we want to see it at a different competition level. I want to see you have that breakaway speed against other teams, against top tier teams all the time, and that's something where we'll see what he does next season. And if you want to take a nice dart throw, that I think he's a good asset to go after. He's probably on your waivers, but he's someone that you should definitely be drafted in your rookie drafts next year.
This next guy is Chris Culliver for North Carolina. North Carolina next year is going to have a wide open receiving room. Someone's going to have to take charge.
Right.
Coming in, he was a high 4-star recruit. Where do you view? How do you view him?
Um, hopefully he does take charge, because we didn't really see anyone take charge until Tez came out for North Carolina, right? And that's where I feel a lot of my issues were with Drake May. And now it's like, okay, he needs that wide receiver to look great. Where Culliver, he has the opportunity to go in with a new quarterback, a new face there. And this is something where it's just like, y'all need to put in this work in the offseason. And I think if they do that, they have the possibility to win your ACC next year and be one of the top guys. But it's going to rely on him taking that chemistry, because with it being so wide open, there's, in a sense, there's competition, right, for the number one, but at the same time, there is no competition because it's an open slot. So everyone's on equal playing ground. You just have to show you're the best. So,
And the next guy we're going to talk about is Nick Harbor from South Carolina. This guy's an absolute freak. He's over 240 pounds, tried to qualify for the Olympics. He's an extremely raw athlete. He's very tight-hipped when he's breaking in and out of his movements. But Juice Wells said he's coming back next year, so he's going to learn from Juice Wells and play opposite Juice Wells. Does Nick Harbor have first-round potential?
first round potential, sure. I mean, you could talk about a lot of guys that do have that potential just based on their athleticism. Being such a big body, though, I mean, hopefully he learned a little bit from the get this past year, right? To just be a nice athlete. If anything, he's strong. So I think he's someone that's going to be a possession receiver. And with that, he can go out there and just look great. And you could look at what George Pickens has done, right? He could be someone of that nature where he just makes it look easy. And that could definitely rise his draft stock and potentially boost him into that first round.
Yeah, he's someone that I think we probably be better on the defensive side, but he chose South Carolina because he wants to play wide receiver.
Mhm,
Now, Jaquazi Petaway from Oklahoma, he had one great game earlier this year with Jackson Arnold. He got like 10 catches for like 100 yards or something like that.
mhm.
That connection's there. So for this exercise, is Petaway just a slot guy or can he develop on the outside?
Um, I think he's going to be a target hog. I don't necessarily see him as a full outside guy, but I think he's someone you can move around and he's gonna find the open zones because he has that ability and that vision to know where he needs to go to get to the quarterback. I think that's why Arnold loved him. So with them already having some sort of chemistry and going into the next season and potentially being the two guys there again, it may be exciting to watch. But I think we need to see what he can do when it's just him, when it's his role to take and his role to be, to know if he can be an outside player or not. But right now, I think he's someone that he can be fed targets because he knows what to do with the balls in his hands.
The final guy that I want to talk about is more of a stock down, and is he even still a Devy asset? And that's Jurion Dickey. Now,
Mhm,
this guy, when I did my evaluation of him, I loved his tape. Absolutely loved him. He's a pure football player,
mhm,
but he plays for Oregon. They're
mhm.
stacked at wide receiver. He hasn't seen the field. Is his value pretty much dust?
I mean, if it is, I would buy him because he plays for Oregon, because that's a team that's a pass friendly team, right? Um, they had Troy Franklin there, no one was getting over him. And then you had Tez Johnson there, no one was necessarily going to play with him because he has that connection with Bo Nix there, right? So this next year is a great opportunity. If anyone's down on him, buy him. But we'll know within a couple games if they really trust in him and if there was something that wasn't clicking during the practices and stuff like that. But I mean, like you said, watching his tape before, it was like this is possibly the wide receiver one of the class. To me, I was talking like, hey, this is the wide receiver one of the class. But it's we do need to see him on the field, and I don't disregard his talent because he didn't see it. I mean, again, you had a top tier, arguably a first round pick right now in that offense. So now it's like, okay, Bo Nix is gone. You have Troy Franklin gone. In step Nova Sad or in step Michael Van Buren, but in steps a new quarterback. Now it's up to you to make sure that quarterback knows you're their best friend. And I think we can see that.
And this next group are pretty much the returning players that have a chance to improve their stock. And the first one I want to talk about is Elijah Badger for Arizona State. Now, he has the option to go out, but I don't think he declares. I think he comes back. He's more of that, yak roll type of a guy. He's
Mhm.
not as nuanced of a route runner yet, but next year, he'll team up with Rashada.
Mhm.
It should be all systems go, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think he didn't go because his talent isn't there. He went because he's coming back because he has bad quarterback play. Rashada, I mean, I'm not gonna say it enough until Rashada gets drafted, but he's him. He's just that quarterback that can make it happen. And I think that's the reason why he said, look, I'm coming back. Talking to Rashada, yo, you're gonna be healthy next year? Yeah, all right, let's get it. I'm ready to be back. I'm ready to be your guy. And I think we're gonna see that, and you're gonna see them both elevate each other. Because we didn't really see that from other quarterbacks. They just played miserably. But Rashada is gonna be that guy, and he's just a nice, smooth quarterback for Badger to have.
This next guy is a my guy, and that's Jalen Royals from Utah State. He is fourth in the nation in touchdowns with 12, and he's going to eclipse 1,000 yards. Receiving yards. He's going to have well over 80 receptions. He's a guy that came from nowhere, literally nowhere. He was with the program last year and didn't do anything. He is someone that has made leaps and bounds, and I know he's got another year left. If he plays next year and balls out, let's say he puts up the same kind of stats next year, 80 catches, let's say 1,200 yards, and 12 to 15 touchdowns. Where do you see that at the next level? And he has a verified 4.340 speed at
Mhm.
6 feet 1 inches and 197 pounds. It's all
Yeah.
verified.
Yeah, he's someone that he kind of really has. I feel a few years ago we were looking at the bigger receivers, and we did get a class that just has a bunch of stock receivers, or this is the class coming out where it's just a bunch of stock receivers. Where now we're gonna slim back a little bit, and I feel he fits that mold of the receivers we're gonna be looking at within this next class. If he comes out there and does that again, I mean, he's someone you definitely want as a Devy asset. He could definitely be one of your sleeper guys. You want him in all your C2C leagues. He knows how to gain that separation. I mean, you brought up his speed. He's someone that if the quarterback play is still there, he's going to look great. And you'll want him there because the team's going to take a shot on him. I mean, it's just plain and simple because of that athleticism, because his ability to, speed past or have that breakaway speed, that second gear, if you will. His off the line is great, but then when he finds out that spot is open, he's gone. You're not catching him. So
Yeah.
NFL teams are going to fall in love with him. Sure, another season like this is going to be great, but I think already some NFL teams love him.
And the next guy I want to talk about is Eric McAllister. He really played a few good games for Boise, and he was like, you know what? I'm going up to the Power Five. He
Yeah.
entered to the portal for this exercise. Let's say he does go to a big school in a Power Five. Now he is from Texas. I kind of like him for Texas Tech, but let's say he goes to a Power Five and becomes a starter. What does he need to do at that Power Five program to be a Devi asset?
Um, Go out there and showcase his ability that he did this year. He was looking great for Boise State. I think he was one of their heavy offensive pieces, and he just needs to show he could still do it at that next competition level. That it's kind of like where you see, say, Dwayne McBride. He dominated, right? He had all the yards in FBS, but he didn't play anybody. And that was his knock. So I'm glad he's doing that. But it's like, okay, now you gotta go out there and show it. So he doesn't need to have 100 yards every game, but he needs to have 800, 900 yards to even have Devi potential for me at that next level. Right now he's a sleeper in your C2C leagues. You can get him because he can have some big games. But as far as a Devi draft, he's not someone you're drafting in the early rounds or mid rounds right now.
And the final G5 guy I want to talk about is Justice Ross Simmons for Colorado State. Torrey Horton's going to move on, and Justice Ross Simmons should take over that role that Horton has. Now, he's not
Mhm,
a burner like Horton is. He's more of that possession receivers. But I
mhm.
view him as a guy that can run the same type of routes. Colorado State likes to run those underneath crossers with a couple of guys clearing out. So I see him taking over that role just fine. Are we seeing a wave of G5 guys potentially being Devi guys, or is Justice Ross Simmons just a CFF asset?
Man, when you have your possession receivers, a lot of times they might just be a CFF asset, right? Because they're just not. You don't necessarily see the same ball skills that you would from just a valuable wide receiver on the outside that can build that separation and not just have to battle every time. Ross Simmons, Colorado State's fun to watch. I'd be lying if I said I did it. I think they have a pretty good offense. They have guys, and we talk about Trey McBride. One of your top tight ends, Dallin Hooker. I think is a great asset. So he's someone that can do it, but I would love to see him at a different university just because I think he needs further development. And I don't know if the coaches there will necessarily give it to him. They're just going to let him be who he is, but he needs better coaching to just elevate his game.
And the final receiver I want to talk about has been my sleeper for a while, and that's Jordan Moore out of Duke. He was a converted quarterback who is now a receiver. This is his first year as a full-time receiver, and he's been a really good player. What I like about him is he knows that quarterback position. So when he sees his quarterback in trouble, he knows where he would want his receiver to be, and he's there. And at the NFL, we know the NFL loves guys that can do multiple things. Where do you view him?
Um, he could be nice. I definitely want to see more of him, but I think he could be a great prospect. It's always interesting when you have guys that change positions and it just shows their athletic ability. I mean, he's someone that a smart coach can definitely use him in different levels because we know he has a good arm. But now it's like, okay, let's see the speed, let's see the IQ of the wide receiver. It's a whole different ball game now, learning the plays and everything. So I still want to see more development from him. Duke surprisingly has some good assets that you can go out there, whether it be offense or defense, has some good assets, and he's definitely someone you want, because I think the sky's the limit for him. I think they just had to teach him how to read the game differently than what he has, and know when to make the adjustments, when to make the cuts, when to, stop on a dime and everything like that. And I think once we see that more, then we're going to have him rise up a little bit.
All right, now let's move on to tight ends. This shouldn't take very long at all.
Yep.
I have two sleepers here. I have Jaheim Bell at Florida State. Now, we know for tight ends, they do take time to develop, but a recent trend lately has been to find the tight end who's athletic. We look at a tight end with a very good RAS score.
Mhm.
Jaheim Bell, he plays like a wild card role. He does everything
Mhm.
for Florida State. He did everything for South Carolina. Is he someone that can potentially be that end of day two sleeper?
Oh yeah, 100%. I loved him as a prospect coming out. I thought he was a phenomenal athlete. He has some speed, he has some bulkiness, he has some strength. He has really the total package you want in those tight ends. Where if you need him to block, he'll go ahead and do that. If you need him to run a route, he can go ahead and do that. I love everything about him, and he is one of my top tight ends in this class. I think he will be someone teams will fall in love with. And one of those combines days where I think at the combine he's going to showcase. Look, Brock Bowers is going to be the tight end one, but look, maybe Jatavian Sanders, I'm a little bit faster than him. Maybe I'm something different. And so I really think he could be someone that can go, at that third round.
And then Dallin Holker probably made the catch of the year for all tight ends this year for Colorado State when he made that exceptional play against Colorado. Is he that next great tight end, that's coming from that tree, that Jay Norvell tree from Nevada and then Colorado State?
Yeah, I definitely think if you're in your rookie drafts next year, make sure you're grabbing him. I mean, if he drops to the fourth, you better pick him up. You can get him late third, I think is a great value for him. He's an all around one. I mean, we talked about Trey McBride earlier. He's in that same boat where he can do it all. They have him blocking, they have him running routes. He knows how to run the routes. He has the speed, he knows how to beat the linebackers. He has the IQ you want in those tight ends, and he's someone that I think you're definitely going to want to have, because he's not going to go in and start right away in the NFL, I don't think, but he's going to get his opportunity, and he's going to be one of those tight ends that you're like, I should have drafted him because now look, I didn't get him off the waiver wire, and I should have.
Especially in tight end premium leagues. Now, these next two guys are freshmen with a clear pathway, and that's Arlis Boardingham for Florida and Jelani Thurman for Ohio State. For Jelani, Case Stover leaves after this year, so he should have a clear pathway. What are your thoughts on those two?
I love Boardingham, man. We were talking about Jaheim Bell. I think Boardingham could be better. I just love him as a prospect. He's just what you were talking about, everything for the tight ends earlier, just having that RAS score and having that athleticism. This is Arlene Boardingham. Now, DJ Lagway goes in there. They had horrible quarterback play this year. I'm excited to see Lagway go in there next year and potentially be that starting quarterback out the gate. And Boardingham's going to be a huge factor of him. We've seen some great tight ends come from Florida. I think Boardingham's going to be that next one that does. Thurman, same reason. I think this is something great. What's bad about them is the tight ends are good from Ohio State, but it's wide receiver you,
Yeah.
right? So he's someone that you're not going to take him in your Devy draft. Go ahead and get him C2C leagues because you're not doing it to start him. But if you have that roster spot, he's going to find some NFL team because he's from Ohio State, and he's going to get that opportunity as well. That's not necessarily on a wide receiver heavy team. He's someone that no one's going to look at. You're going to go and look at the Cardinal Tates, the Brandon Innes's, right? The Jeremiah Smiths. You're going to look at those guys. Get Thurman, though, because he's still on a heavy offense. And guess what? When he needs to be called upon to make the play, he can do it.
And this final guy's kind of in that same situation. That's Amari Black for Alabama. He's a very athletic tight end.
Mhm.
They will scheme up plays for him, and he will run go routes and run past defenders. But like with Ohio State, Alabama, they're known for the receivers, they're known for the running backs. They don't really target the tight ends. But what's his possibility in next year?
I mean, if he goes out there and just showcases all around skill, I mean, he could be your late third round if someone wants to take a shot. He's a day three prospect, if that. But at the same time, with Alabama, they weren't electrifying this year, at least to me. It wasn't the same Alabama team we've seen where they just looked exciting, exhilarating to watch, right? So this next year, if they go in there and have a new motto to them or a new mojo, if you will, this is an opportunity for him to go out there and have fun. And because of that, I think that could raise his draft stock, as I said, to a late third round pick, maybe. But right now, he's just a day three pick. But I mean, that could be because they're going to focus on their running backs and their wide receivers. So you really want to watch to see, okay, what's he doing in the run blocking? How's he pass blocking in certain situations? You're not necessarily getting the offensive assets you want as far as pass catching and stuff from him. But if he can showcase everywhere else, that's why a team will take a shot on him. And then at that next level, he shows, look, I'm an athlete too. I can go out there and route runs when you need me to.
All right, SC, we didn't burn the channel down. We made it to the end. Now that was a great show, man. Where can we find you on X, and what are you working on?
Yes, sir. On X at the PPR show every Tuesday. If you missed it, the IDDP article just dropped. Individual Devy defensive players. Jeremiah Trotter just did a profile on him. Just check it out. My thoughts on Jeremiah Trotter, even some landing spots for him. Doing a thread once a day, just going over some college value, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, IDP, and then rankings. And then we also have on Thursdays my IDP start sits for RPO going on. Just exciting, Thanksgiving coming up. We have some big games on the NFL side. But yeah, even some big college games, some make or breaks, if you will, in some cases. But that's where I'm at.
And you can find me at Andy_fam1. Every Thursday, drop a player profile for the 2024 NFL draft to get you ready for your rookie and freshman rookie draft picks. I don't know. It's late. Every Friday, do Devy and C2C games to watch. And every Monday, we wrap up with a Devy stock up, stock down, and C2C names to watch. For those of you watching on YouTube, please subscribe, hit the thumbs up button. If you're on Spotify, rate and review all the good stuff. Visit our website at DynastyProsFootball.com. Have a great Thanksgiving, everyone, and good luck in your CFF finals. We'll see you next week.